Today we're doing an everyday makeup look on a 53-year-old face, and I'm going to show you the products that I use in my everyday makeup routine to help me look the best I feel like I can, so that I feel like I'm presenting my most true, authentic, confident self to the world. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's get started. I'm going to be completely barefaced creating this look in 1, 2, 3. This is my setup that y'all see in the background of all of my closet videos. I do my makeup in the closet just like I get dressed from the closet. Like, this is where I begin my day every day. Today, I'm going to be out running errands. I'm just finishing up getting all the things I need for my son and daughter-in-law's gender reveal party this weekend. And I am so freaking excited about this gender reveal party. I'm going to be a first-time grandma, and my grandma name is going to be Lolly, and I just cannot wait to be a Lolly. But anyway, back to the makeup. Now, I always start my makeup the same way every day. Like, my skincare is done all the way up to my sunscreen. And on a filming day, I would be going through a lot more steps, but it's not a filming day. Today's just a regular day. So I'm not going to be going in with any primer or anything. I do wear primer on my large pore area on filming days, but for just a regular out running errands day, I don't need a layer of primer. I feel like good skincare is better than any primer could ever be. Now, while good skincare does not change the fact that I am 53 years old with large pores and oily skin, my skincare routine still sets me up for the best possible makeup day, or, you know, skin day that I can have. I love a foundation stick. I know it's not the most common love that you're going to see out there for women, especially women over 40. But for me, somebody who travels so often, it is just so quick and so easy. And the one I'm loving right now for a quick everyday look is this Fenty Ease Drop Foundation Stick. I wear the color 6. I am a lightest medium, neutral leaning cool skin tone. If you're a similar skin tone to me, this color might work for you. If not, don't worry, you'll be able to find your right match, because Fenty is known for doing amazing range of skin tones. And I'm really loving this. I'm gonna put it on half my face first so you can see how much it really does cover with very little product. So let's get to it. I have very sensitive skin with rosacea, and so redness is something that I am always aware of and, you know, always trying to tone down on my face. I love using a brush to blend this in, but you could do it with your fingers. In fact, I actually traveled one time and forgot all of my makeup brushes and did my whole face the whole time I was traveling for the entire week with just my fingers. Well, and my mascara. And let me tell you, I didn't enjoy it. I much prefer to have a brush, but if you don't have a brush, fingers can work. Now you can see on this side of my face, I don't have a ton of coverage, but what I do have is a really effective blur and some evening. I am going to go into a couple of spots with concealer, so I'm not worried about covering every single thing up. The goal I'm trying to achieve with my tint stick is just an evening of my skin tone, not a heavy coverage of anything. Now, this tint stick is buildable, so if you wanted to build it up, you absolutely could. And you can see I go in on my eyelids, everything with it, just blend it out everywhere. Put it at my neck, a little more blending. My next step is I'm going to go in with concealer. This is where I get a little high maintenance, even in my just regular everyday routine, because I go in with 2 different colored concealers. I go in with a brightening concealer right in here, because you can see I do have some discoloration, and you know, that's just where I need to brighten my face. And then I go in with a concealer that's much closer to my skin tone from this point forward, because I do still have discoloration, but I feel like if I use the brightening concealer all the way down here, that I start to give myself a kind of a raccoon look, and I'm not into the raccoon look. So that's why I blend the 2 concealers together, the brightening up high and the one that matches my skin tone a little bit lower, so that I get the brightening in my eye area where I want it and not so much down the rest of my face where I start to give myself a raccoon look. The brightening concealer that I'm absolutely loving to use right now is the Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer, and I have this in R2. Rosy 2, because I am a fairly rosy skin tone, and I just put a little dot right there, and a little dot right there, a little bit more here, a little bit more here. And then the concealer that matches my complexion more closely is by Laura Mercier. And this is the Real Flawless Concealer by Laura Mercier. And that one will go here and here. You can see that this is at least 1.5 shades deeper than my brightening concealer. Now here's the trick to get good coverage out of any concealer. I use this exact same method with high-end concealers and with drugstore brands, and it works equally well in both. And that is to just barely tap it out like so and let it sit. I don't want to let it completely dry down because I don't want it to dry down like this. Obviously I want to blend it out a little bit more, but I do want to let it sit. I want to give this concealer at least 30 seconds to a full minute to let it dry down before I finish blending it in with my fingertip, because you know the warmth of your hands really helps your concealer to blend more seamlessly with your skin. And by letting it dry down a bit, you get much better coverage with much less product. And on over 40, over 50 skin, if you can get high coverage with very little product, you're winning, right? Because as I've aged, I've noticed the more product I put on my face, the more it kind of shows all my texture that I'm not trying to, you know, make a big, that I'm not trying to really show. So now I'm just gonna blend it out. And you can see I got great coverage just from that little bit of concealer. I know you, just like me, we've seen a lot of women do makeup on YouTube and, you know, TikTok and everywhere else on the internet. And I find that they go really, really hard with the concealer. Like they are putting it on. And it just doesn't work for me, because while I do have oily skin, I am starting to get dry right up here under my eyes. And putting that much makeup on any super dry area of my face is just not turned out to be a good look. I feel like I have this side a little bit brighter than this side, so I'm going to go in with just a tiny bit more concealer on this side. And when I say tiny, I mean tiny. Look how tiny the point of that concealer is, and that's what I'm going to do. That's it. Slightly tap it out with the brush, just like before, and let it sit. Ask you how you're doing. How's your mom and them? While we hang out and do makeup. Now just tap it out. There. We take a little bit of that excess concealer onto my eyelid, and that's it for my foundation and concealer. I am going to set this because I do have oily skin, even though I'm a little bit dry up under my eyes, so my concealer will crease throughout the day if I don't set it. But I'm not the biggest fan of powders up under my eyes, and I'm definitely not a big fan of heavy powder under my eye. So the powder that I'm loving for setting my under eyes is the Givenchy Prism Libre. I love this powder. It's just absolutely beautiful, and I'm using it in the Rose shade number 3. And I'm just going to take it on this fluffy brush, but I'm not putting that under my eyes. Now I'm just going to spin it around in the top and really work it into the brush, and then pat. See how it's already starting to crease a little bit on my eyelid? Or see how the foundation is creasing on my eyelid? I'm going to pat out that crease before I set my eyelid, because I certainly don't want to set any creases in my makeup. Once I've got it all pretty much patted in, I do just go in and kind of swirl it just to make sure everything is just as smooth as I can possibly get it on my not perfectly smooth eyelids anymore. So when I'm done, going in for the second eye, loading up that brush, and then unloading it, working it into the brush. And you can see it all flying around a little bit. I'm gonna pat out those creases, not rub, because if I rub, I start making a mess. Just pat. And I've already got some creases up under this eye, so pat those out and then go in and set. That'll do it. So now I'm gonna do my eyes before I do the rest of my complexion. And that's simply because I'm gonna use a shimmery eyeshadow, not a glittery eyeshadow, but a shimmery eyeshadow today. And shimmer eyeshadows tend to have a little bit more fallout than a matte eyeshadow does. And if I get any of that fallout on my face, I want to be able to clean it up before I go in with the rest of my complexion products. So on to eyes. And I start every single eye look with my Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3 matte eyeshadow palette. And I think it's beautiful. It's just a great collection of mattes from light to dark. It also has 2 cream shadows in it, but I've never used the cream shadow, so I can't speak to how well they work or don't work. This palette here is the foundation to every eye look I do, including my shimmery eye looks. And I start every eye look the same way. I take this lightest color here and just pat it on to my brush and pat it into that corner of my eye. See how brightening that is? And right up under my brow bone. Don't worry, we're not gonna leave it like that. And then I take this next lightest shade and put it all over the rest of my lid, all the way up to where it meets that light color that I did. And then I take a fluffy blending brush with nothing on it and blend all that together. And that creates a great canvas for every single eye look that I've ever done. Now here's where I get extra use out of this palette. I use this shade here, right here, for my eyebrows. So now I'm gonna do my brows. Because I am fortunate enough to still have most of my eyebrow hair. I survived the 90s with brows, but they definitely need some definition. All my hair is thin and fine, including my eyebrows, so I always need definition. And I've got a scar that runs right through the middle of this one, so I always make sure to give it some extra attention so that I cover that scar. Now, I'm not one of those women who does a whole lot to their eyebrows. Eyebrow trends are gonna come and go like they always have and always will, but I don't change my eyebrows with the trends. This is almost my completely natural shape. I just tweeze up under here on both sides, and then on this side I have like 4 eyebrows that grow really high, so I tweeze those 4 off on the top. And I trim them up, and that's all I do to my eyebrows. In the past, when I have tried some of that trendy stuff, and like I did go really thin with the eyebrows a couple of times in the 90s, and I felt like it just aged me and I just looked weird. So I don't really follow any eyebrow trends, just the one nature gave me. I'm gonna take that exact same color I used on my eyebrows, and I'm gonna use this angled brush. And I know you shouldn't blow on it, but it's only my makeup on my face, so it's my germs. And I'm going to define the shape of my eye just a little bit. And here's where you're gonna notice I have 2 different shaped eyes. This eye is slightly smaller than this eye, and both of my eyes have become much more hooded as I've gotten older. And that's just a natural occurrence with age. But what I'm going to do when I'm kind of sculpting out my eye shape is that I'm going to try to match them. I take this definition section a little bit higher, like I'm gonna take it up to about here on this lid, and slightly lower on this lid, so that it brings them together when you're looking at the 2 eyes together, that it makes them just look more similar. My face, like everybody else's face, is asymmetrical. It's never going to be completely symmetrical, but I'm going to give it a shot to make it look a little closer. And the way I do that is I'm looking into my magnifying mirror, which here's another thing. I do not suggest anybody look into a 10 times magnifying mirror if they don't have to. I have to because my eyes are older and I need it to do my makeup. But if I did not need this 10 times magnifying mirror to do my makeup, I would never have one of these in my house. These mirrors are almost, as helpful as they are, they're rude. I start right there in the center because that's where I want to lift my eye. And I'm not doing a wing or, any of that stuff today. So I'm just focusing it here. I want it to feather it off into the inner corner and also the outer corner. There, next eye. And I do this with my eyes open, looking straight forward. I do have to lift my eye a little bit because if I didn't, my hoods on my eyes would prevent my brush from getting in there. So I lift to put the brush in there and then relax my eyelid to be sure I'm getting the shadow where I want it. Checking a more distance mirror to see that I can do better. I need to bring it up here on this eye and then deepen it just slightly on this eye. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. And that's it for the mattes. I almost always do a shimmer shadow. Even if I'm just doing a one and done, I'll do a light shimmer shadow. But I like shimmers from all different brands, and I've never found a shimmer palette that has everything I want in it. So I made my own. I took this Makeup Forever palette and I filled it with the shimmers that I like. These are Urban Decay, Buxom. These are Natasha Denona here and here. These are Viseart, and this one's ColourPop. So you can see my taste is all over the place. But I think today I'm just gonna go with this medium taupey shade. Not too warm, not too cool, but I'm just gonna go with that. And I just press it in with my pinky, all over the lid, all the way up to the crease. I love Natasha Denona shimmer formula. Like, all of Natasha Denona formulas are fantastic. I don't know what she does different than everybody else, but she does it right. Wipe off a little bit in the corner. So it's a little heavier on this eye, but I'm really liking that. So I'm gonna match it on this eye. If I didn't like the heavier look, if I wanted to match the lighter eye, I could absolutely just use a blending brush and buff some out. But I like the slightly heavier eye. So my solution was to add more, not take anything away. I've wiped off my angle brush and I'm gonna go back in and just make sure they're very blended together right here in the crease, so nothing looks harsh. Check the distance, and that's it. I'm gonna take that same shimmer color on a little pencil brush and I'm gonna pop it right up under my eye on my lower lid. Now, I know a lot of people believe that once you hit a certain age, whatever age they decide is the certain age, that you can't wear any eyeshadow or eyeliner or even mascara or anything on your lower lid. And I, sometimes don't. But I just feel like my eye has a much more balanced look when I have just a little something on that lower lash line. There, you can see. It's not much, but it's something, and I feel like it's just a much more balanced look. So I'm checking in the distance and see that I feel like I still need to build up a little bit right here on this. And that's it for the eyeshadow. I do have just a little bit of fallout, so I'm using the same foundation brush I used before to blend out my foundation to just kind of dust that fallout off. There. Now here's what I feel really opens up my eyes the most. And I'm going to do it first on my smaller eye so you can see how much it does really open up my eye. When I put on my eyeliner, I look straight ahead in the mirror and I start my eyeliner right at the middle of my pupil when I'm looking straight ahead and take it out. I don't put any eyeliner to this side of my pupil. Today I'm just going with regular dark brown I love this formula by Lancome. It's their waterproof formula. It glides on very easily. It gives me plenty of time to blend it out, but once it's set down, it's set. It doesn't go anywhere. And I just really work it in at the base of my lashes. And then I take this flat Morphe brush and I blend it out, which does bring it just slightly past the pupil of my eye, but just slightly. And you can see how that really opens up the look of my eye because it's still light and bright on this part and defined on the outer edge, which gives the center part of my eye more of a lifted look, more of a wide awake look, if you will. Looking forward, there's my pupil, working it into the lash line, and then blending it out. So I really only use 3 different brands of eyeliner, not all at the same time, but on any type of regular basis. I love the Lancome Stilo Waterproof. I also love the Hourglass Waterproof Gel. In fact, I'm going to use this. This is the one I use for tight lining because it doesn't transfer to the bottom line once it sets. I wouldn't normally tight line on an everyday look. I'm going to do it today just to show you because I do it the same way I do my eyeliner above my lash line. And it's just from my pupil over to the corner of my eye. Get in those lashes. And that's that. This is a fantastic waterline eyeliner. And the other eyeliner formula that I absolutely love is the Urban Decay formula, the Glide On Waterproof. And if I'm ever doing anything with a colorful eyeliner look, it's always going to be Urban Decay because I feel like they do the best colors. Their gel formula is fantastic because it gives you time to work with it and blend it out, but then it sets down and it stays put. And that's something I really love. So I keep just these little pointy Q-tips and I wipe that right out of the corner of my eye and clean up that bottom waterline. I feel like that's another step that helps to open up the look of my eyes. That's it except for mascara, and I do mascara at the end after I've done my setting spray. Now it's time to give my face some dimension. The first thing I ever do to give my face some dimension, and something I do almost every single day, is to define my jawline because I don't have much of one. Like, I have a very weak jawline and I have a chin implant. So you can imagine how much more round this face was before I put a 7mm chin implant in my chin. And if y'all ever want to know more about what I've done to my face over the years, I'd be happy to share that with you. Just let me know. I just draw right up under my jawline. Even though I'm getting these jowls, I try to disguise them a little bit, but I don't worry too much about it. And I love the Fenty matchsticks for this because they have a shade for everybody. If you're lighter complected like I am, it can be hard to find a good contour shade that's not too bronze. You really need something that's in a cool tone to be a great contour, and it's hard to find those light cool tone shades, but Fenty, amazing for their shade range. So then I just take this angled brush, pop it right up under my jawline, which looks like a mess right now, and blend it out. See, look how easily that blends. Right back behind my ear, a little bit in front of my ear, just a little bit, and a little down my neck. What I'm looking to do here when I define my jaw is I want to have a line, but I don't want a harsh line. I want a very soft line. I need the line to define that jaw space, but if it's harsh, then you can tell I just drew a line on my face, right? And I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a very natural shadow effect. I want to look like my face has a strong enough jawline to create a shadow between the bottom of my face and the top of my neck. And because that doesn't exist in my natural bone structure, I draw it on and do the best I can. And that's all. That's it for my contour product. Now I'm going to use my bronzer, and again I'm using the Fenty Cheeks Out bronzer, and I'm using the shade Butter Biscuit. The shade of my contour is Amber 01, and the shade of my bronzer is 02 Butter Biscuit. And my bronzer is more warm tone than my contour, which is exactly how it's supposed to be. And I'm gonna use that same brush, and you'll see why in just a second. I use my bronzer to contour the whole rest of my face. And I learned this from a makeup artist I did a Learn Your Face session with. Her name is Noelle, and she works in the St. Louis area, and she does a Learn Your Face session. So I traveled to St. Louis quite often because my husband has business there. And I met with her and I did a Learn My Face session, and she taught me how to bronzer my face. And so that's what I do. Now I have a very high forehead and a receding hairline. So I'm going to come in here, right here, where my hairline is starting to recede. Lovely, right? Getting older. And just kind of contour that out using my bronzer. So it gives that warm, healthy glow to the skin and also works as the contour without having to layer too many products. Because if I was laying bronzer on top of contour to contour my bone structure, and bronzer to warm up the skin, then, you know, I'm layering a lot of product on my face. and that's just not something I'm looking to do. I'm going to place my bronzer on my cheekbone in a way that actually contours my cheekbone, but I can't place it too low because I just don't have much space. I've got high cheekbones, but I have no jaw bone back here. Like, my face is very round. So I'm going to place that bronzer really high up on my cheekbone, and I know it looks silly right now. I'm just going to leave it just like that and do the other side. And I do not come past the outside of my eye. Here's the corner of my eye, and here is where I put my bronzer up towards my hair, like up over my ear. I want it to start at the corner of my eye and come up over my ear. So that's what I'm working for here. I never bring it into this part of my face, and I really don't blend it out very much. Like, obviously, you would never leave the house with it like this. I don't have a straight nose either, so I don't do a whole lot of contour on my nose. I just do with whatever's left on the brush after doing this and this, and on the sides of my nose to slightly warm up my face, all the way up to between my eyebrows. And then I'll do a little bit under my lip, and that's it for that. Next, I'm gonna do my blush. I'm using Bareback, the cream blush by Nude Sticks, and this is a matte blush, which I really enjoy for my everyday look. I'm using a fluffy brush to do this, but still I'm just going to tap, and I tap it right over that bronzer, putting them together, and I do come right up into my temple. I don't know if that's dated, not dated, I don't know. I've just always done it that way, so I'm always going to do it that way until I don't. But you can see my blush placement and my bronzer is very, very high on my face. And I will bring my blush just slightly past the corner of my eyes, but never all the way to the center of my face. And that's that. I'm just gonna blend just a little bit more using the same foundation brush that I blended everything else with. Kind of make sure that's all nice and blended all the way around. And I'm gonna set my face with powder. I always have to set my face with powder because my skin is oily. If you don't have oily skin, you might not need to do all this, but my favorite setting powder is an OG classic. It's Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. And I just pop some into the lid, use a fluffy powder brush, work it into the brush, work it in. And then I pat it on my face, all over. Just set everything even on my neck, because remember, I put all that contour on my neck. I think a lot of people, in fact, I think probably most people can stop right there. But for me, I've got large pores and oily skin. So now I take a little bit on a puff and I really work it into that puff, like really work it in. And I go in and put even more powder in all the areas of my face where I tend to get really oily, and that is in my T-zone, in my chin. That just helps to minimize the look of the pores. And then I'll go back with a fluffy brush and just kind of brush all of that out, just so I don't have any powder, you know, sitting on my face. At this point, I'm going to take my setting spray and lock all of this in. And I love this Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. And the thing about setting spray I've learned is that you have to use enough for it to do its job. I used to just lightly spritz my setting spray, like maybe 2 times. I'd spray once and twice, and my setting spray never did anything for me. And I couldn't figure out what is the big deal about setting spray. Why is everybody all into it? It doesn't freaking work. Well, it was me that wasn't working. I did not know I needed to use so much. I go in and I dampen my whole face and let that set down, and it will lock in my makeup all day long. A lot of people have a little fan, and that would be fantastic, but I don't have one, so I wave my hands in front of my face like a crazy woman. Now let me just tell you, lashes are my absolute favorite. If I could only have one makeup product for the whole rest of my life, it would be mascara, hands down, without a second thought. Like, if somebody asked me and gave me 3 hours to think about it, I only need 3 seconds. It's mascara, that's that. The first thing I do is just kind of brush them out, because I just feel like it helps them to not get clumpy. And I'm gonna curl my lashes, but I don't give a strong curl to my lashes. I do use a lash serum, so my lashes are already a bit longer. And if I do a hard crimp or a hard curl, they'll curl right back into my eyelid, and that's a mess. So I just do a soft crimp just to slightly lift them. That's that. I don't want to really give them a strong curl. I just want to give them a lift. I want to make sure they're all as separated as possible before I go in with my mascara. Now for mascara, I have a lot of high-end mascaras. I also have a lot of drugstore mascaras. And while I do love my high-end mascaras, like I love almost any of the Lancome formulas, I think they are fantastic. They're also about $28, $30, something like that. My Maybelline Colossal is just as good for a fraction of the price. So that's the one I'm using. And I always start at the base. In fact, I don't even try to pull it through to the tips of my lashes on the first pass. It's just about getting it in the base and locking in that lift. That's all I'm doing. Then I'm gonna go back in with my spoolie, let that dry down a little. And now I'm gonna go in and full coat my lashes all the way from the base to the tips. Now I would love it if I could put my mascara on both sides of my eyelashes, but because my eyes are hooded, I will end up with mascara all over the eyelid. So I don't do that. And at this point, I really need to find some self-control because I will do this forever because I love mascara. I do put mascara on my lower lashes as well because it just feels incomplete to me if I don't. Does everybody make a funny face when they put mascara on? Everybody I've seen put mascara on, in real life anyway, does make the funny face. And I'm gonna comb out my bottom lashes. I also got some mascara on my face, so I'm just gonna let that dry. I don't wanna touch it while it's wet at all. I want it to be completely dried down. And once it is completely dried down, it will just flake right off. I need highlighter. For highlighter, I love the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow. I love this highlighter that's in here. You can see I've used it a lot. And I'm gonna keep using it till it's gone because I love it. I do highlight on my nose, but I do it very strategically. Let me explain. Like I've said, I do not have a straight nose. Like you can see my nose goes just a little bit off to the side and I've got a bump in my nose. I'm not gonna highlight to bring attention to a crooked bump in my nose. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this Real Techniques brush that is very flat so it has a bit of an edge to it, and I'm gonna highlight at top between my eyes, just across the top of my nose, where it starts to, just about to the top of the bump. I'm not gonna highlight on the bump, and I am gonna highlight just a little bit on the tip. Visually, when you look at my face, you subconsciously wanna connect that top highlight to that bottom highlight. But when you look at that, you're gonna connect it in a way that is in a straight line, even though my nose is not in a straight line. So this creates the illusion of a straighter nose without highlighting the bump, because there's no highlighter on the bump of my nose, which creates the illusion that I don't have a bump on my nose, even though I do. I'm also gonna highlight my cheekbones, but I use just this little fluffy brush to do that. And again, I don't bring my highlighter past my eye because as I've aged and my skin begins to fall, I've got a little bit of droopiness right here on my cheek, and I'm not trying to highlight any droopiness on my face, right? So I'm gonna go from that point back and just the top of my cheekbone in the same angle that I did my bronzer and my blush, and a little bit into my brow, just for a bit of a lifted look. This is not something I do every day. I always do it when I'm filming, but I don't usually do it for my everyday makeup that I'm doing today. But I do see my eyebrow hairs going a little cattywampus on me, so I'm going to take my Benefit Give Me Brow in shade 3 and just brush those hairs up so that they'll hold. And I'm just gonna be a little extra today because they don't need to be going everywhere. For lips, I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm just gonna do a lip liner and a Healthy Glow lip balm from Chanel. These are both Chanel products. I absolutely love them. I will touch this up maybe twice, probably once after I eat lunch, but that's it for the rest of the day. Do you need these? Absolutely not. You can get great quality products at a much better price point than either one of these. In fact, if you would like to see me do a drugstore routine, I'd be happy to do that for you. Just drop down into the comments below and let me know if you want to see a drugstore makeup routine, because drugstore makeup is just as good as high-end makeup in almost every single case. So there's some great finds at the drugstore. I'd be happy to do that video if that's something you're interested in seeing. But for now, I'm going in with my Chanel lip liner in shade 162 Nude Brown. This lip liner really works to make my lips look a lot juicier and fuller than they are, and I like that. It also comes with a little brush on the end to blend it out. I need to check a little bit of distance. There, that looks fairly even. And now I'm going in with the Chanel Le Beige's Healthy Glow Lip Balm in Light. I'm gonna brush this out a little bit more. I know it's trendy to have a deeper lip liner than lipstick and kind of see that line, but I don't really like the look of that on myself so much, so I am going to make that line less obvious right now. Soften that. And that's it. That's my everyday face. Now, I know this seems like it took forever for an everyday face, right? And it did, because I was talking to you and filming all of this. In my real life, without talking my way through it step by step and doing side-by-side comparisons and talking about all the products I'm using as I go through, this takes me about 10 to 12 minutes. I would love to say I have a 5-minute face, but that would absolutely be a lie. If I was gonna do a 5-minute face, which is what I do when I'm out on the boat, it is a tinted sunscreen, a little bit of brow gel, some mascara, because I always have mascara on, and a tinted lip balm, and that's it. I don't have a 5-minute face. I have like a 2-minute face, and I have like a 10 to 12 minute face, which is what this one is. And then of course I have a filming makeup face, which takes me about 40 minutes. If you want to see that one as well, let me know, because that's how y'all normally see me, with a little bit more makeup on my face as I am getting ready to film. But now I've got to get out and run my errands and get everything ready for this gender reveal party that is happening in 3 days, and I'm just so excited to do that. If you've enjoyed hanging out with me for a few minutes today, just like I've enjoyed hanging out with you, I do hope you will consider subscribing to the channel if you want to. If you don't want to, don't worry about it. No harm, no foul, because you have an open invitation to come back and hang out anytime you want, whether you're subscribed or not. If you have a few more minutes today, I'd love to hang out with you in this video here, but if not, no worries. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.